Well, folks, welcome to another great word in the street. And today's guest is one of my favorites. You know, you've seen people on here from Hollywood actors to rock stars to writers and experts of all kinds. Well, I tell you what, today's guest is a combination of all of those, not just to me and not just to her family, but to everybody who meets her and knows her and hears about her. She's a marketing genius. She's crazy beautiful, timeless, ageless, singer, songwriter, producer, performer, and an entrepreneur who helps entrepreneurs be better entrepreneurs. It's none other than my dear friend and lifelong superstar, Sandy Hibbard. How you doing, Sandy?
Oh my gosh. After that, I mean, you'd have to come back on this show every month to get lifted up like that. What? Thank you so much for your kind words. It's great to be here.
Oh, Sandy, I tell you what, I met you a while back, and really, I mean what I said.
You're just a kid. You were a kid.
and you were too. Sandy,
I was.
You've been ahead of your time. I didn't mention television personality because talk about a go-getter, folks. I mean, from New York to Dallas, Texas, and everywhere in between. Sandy of Sandy Hibbard Creative, and the website's at the bottom of your screen. She's always been ahead of the curve. She's always been ahead of her time. And, there's that saying, Sandy, that someone once asked Wayne Gretzky, the master of the pass, how are you the master of the pass? And he said this, he said, I don't go where the hockey puck is. I go to where it's going to be. And you and your music and your singing and everything that you do and your creative services, your mind, you've always gone to where it's going to be. And you're doing it today. And so Sandy Hibbard Creative, oh my gosh, folks, I know you're going to go to the website as we're talking today, but Sandy, we had a great time talking before recording this show. You've got an incredible setup with your family right there. I believe it's Dallas, Texas, right?
Dallas, yep. Actually, Richardson. We're in Richardson, Texas. Multi-generational family right here in Richardson.
Oh, and you know what, folks? I hear of people doing what Sandy's doing with her family, working together, living together. And it's just the best of all worlds. We got to get back to that in a strong family unit. But first, for 22 years, Sandy, you've been doing marketing. Gosh, you bought an old school type of marketing ad agency. You flourished in that. And it was called Lyric Marketing. And in 2015, Sandy Hibbard Creative. Let me tell you why that's brilliant. I mean, you already know it was a great idea. But in this day and age, in 2022, it's not about the product and about the price anymore. It's about the person. Can you trust that person to deliver the goods and to take care of you, to have integrity and to treat you right? And you know what? Yet again, Sandy, you went ahead of the curve.
Thank you. It's all about relationship today. You're so spot on about it being about personal. I can remember back 10 years ago when social media was just starting to get hot with some of my clients, and they were so used to old school type marketing and very corporate-y kind of marketing. And I would encourage them, you've got to get personal. You've got to get personal. And I remember one of my mentors, Allie Brown, AllieBrown.com. She is a total genius that I've followed for a long time. She always said that what you want to talk about is your cat. And you want to talk about your cat and your dog and what you had for dinner. Well, then, of course, we know how that's turned out. Everybody taking pictures of their food or whatever. Right. So it's just how the whole social media marketing angle has evolved to be a social well house of information. It's become very personal. And so if I can build a business on relationships with my clients, that's a cool thing all day long.
Well, and you know what? You're very relational, and people who love you, I know your clients become your friends, and they become your family. And that's what's needed right now, because cheap becomes very expensive when you have to redo it because you chose the wrong person based on price. But a track record like yours, and I'm inspired because some of these personalities that I've been interviewing on this show and other shows, they need a Sandy Hibbard. And, you wouldn't have been able to roll up in New York like you did had you not been on top of marketing and advertising, branding and PR and special event trends. You even started your own show as well. And, tell us about that, the show that you started.
I started a podcast, a video podcast. I'm not really sure what they call them. Internet show. It's called The Insiders on Real Estate and Marketing. And one of the things I didn't tell you earlier is when I bought my company, it had a client list of high producing realtors, title companies, and mortgage companies. So I was, indoctrinated by fire into the real estate business back 22 years ago. And so it's just kind of kept, I have a real mix, a variety of clients now, but I've always had a very niche part of my marketing has been in real estate. So I had a friend that we were brainstorming one day, and I said, I'd really like to do a show. And he's like, well, I'll do it with you. And I'm like, okay. And it was sort of like one of those, lunch napkin brainstorm sessions, and the rest is history. So we started doing the Insiders on Real Estate and Marketing, and it's a 30-minute format. He and I just sit down and talk. My co-host is Mark Miller, and he brings kind of the real estate side for 15 minutes, and then I bring around and end up the show with the marketing and ideas and things like that. And our last show, I shared 7 of the biggest trends in Instagram for 2022. So, we always try to get in something that's going to help our clients, help our listeners be able to take their business forward. And that's the Insiders. And we have fun. It's so much fun.
Well, you can tell, but the first time I saw you, when I first heard that you were doing that, and of course you're right. People call podcasts have been around since the 80s, folks.
Exactly. It's not a new thing.
There's audio podcasts. There's a TV show with a microphone in the shot. Now it's a podcast. They're calling everything a podcast. But, again, ahead of your time. But when I heard that you were doing that, and I just saw the thumbnail on LinkedIn, which, by the way, I've never seen anybody leverage LinkedIn like Sandy Hibbard, folks. You need to go there. And
I'm posting queen.
You really are. But when you right out the gate, when you started, it was like breathing for you. And, as I work with so many different kinds of people, Sandy, at the end of the day, you can learn a lot of principles for broadcasting and hosting and such. But at the end of the day, you either got it or you don't. And you got it. And one of the reasons I think you got it, number one, the fact that you know what you're talking about. You're so engaging with the camera. You're so great with your guest as well, but you come from a long legacy of speakers, preachers, writers, musicians. My gosh, and you started when you were a little one as well. It just shows in everything that you do. Tell us about the Hibbard family.
Oh my gosh, we're all nuts. We're all crazy. Artists, preachers, singers, writers, builders. I always said my dad was a Renaissance man. My brother is a Renaissance man. My son is a Renaissance man, in that they can do anything. You set a plane in front of my brother, he'll figure out how to fly it. Dad was the same way. He built churches, he built buildings and things like that. And it's preacher's kid's life is wild.
Wow.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but you know what? We all came out of it with love in our hearts, and we're all so close. I've got 3 siblings, 4 of us, including me. Daddy's passed. Mom is still, telling us what, and it's
still incredibly beautiful, and
she's the queen. She is
sharp, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Daddy put me on a stool, a box that he pushed up to a microphone pulpit when I was 4 years old. And I sang my first song to the Sunday morning church crowd back, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but I was 4. And that just started me being in front of an audience and singing. I've sang in so many groups and led choirs and, all of that, taught Sunday school, preached, was a minister of music. So, all of that, it's just like, and I certainly don't put myself in the category of these people, but, you hear the stories from great people like Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, that grew up in the church. There's just something about growing up around gospel music, and especially R&B soul gospel music, that, I get chills right now just thinking about it. What we were exposed to, and probably the biggest thing I can be thankful for my family, my side of the Hibbard family is the love that was taught to us, not religion, and the music we were exposed to. I mean, when I was just a kid with glasses and braces, I ate dinner with Andre Crouch, at my house, having dinner with us. And that kind of exposure to music and the soul of living and the soul of life, and the reality of that God is love and that is what we embrace in our hearts has had a huge effect on my life and still does to this day.
Well, an amazing family, and you're amazing. And by the way, I do put you in that category with the Whitney Houstons and all the great artists. Really, this started in church because I encountered you as a young one. And my gosh, even then you were a trendsetter. I mean, the leader of the Full Gospel Assembly Choir. To this day, I've never heard a white choir sound like that. And it was because the innovative ways that you and Judy Vanderberg and eventually Melanie Harlan as well, and others. Yep. But you, when I encountered you, I heard a sound I'd never heard before. People would come from all around to hear that choir. They were called the Blackest White Choir in Oklahoma City.
And it was not white because we were not inclusive. It's just where the church was located.
It's just where it was, because obviously people like Daisy McGrew, who's a beautiful Black sister, and Andre Crouch and others were very welcome there. And
absolutely.
But
we had some soul. It was great. Great time.
Gosh. And even a recent gathering, many years later, they still produce the sound that no other choir I have heard can sound that way. And then the combination with you and them, unbelievable. I got to be in that choir. You gave me a chance to be on the platform when I was 12 years old playing trumpet or trying to play trumpet. But I tell you what, Sandy, you were young as well and just such a strong leader, took charge. Man, you challenged everybody, and to raise the bar, and it paid off so much so that when we would go into the parking lots and do those concerts back in the day, and that was still kind of the Jesus people days, that the local news channel came out and broadcasted the choir live for an hour or two, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we had some. I do. We had some amazing opportunities with that whole scene that we did. It was, Dad started the gospel hootenanny, and it wasn't a country hootenanny, but it was soul music, soul gospel music. And that was, we created quite a buzz back then.
Last week I had a dream that somehow the choir and you were in a studio. It was being filmed, and it just takes me back. And all you have to do is just, we have the power when we hear certain songs in part of our lives that we go back to a better time, especially times like right now. People need to be reminded of the better times as now. But, that legacy lives on. And I remember your dad. I still love your dad. And you know what? If you believe, if you believe in this Jesus thing and God thing, then you will know that he is alive. JC is alive, and he is young again, and he wouldn't come back for nothing. But he would, even after that amazing choir, all just to this day has never been duplicated anywhere that I've seen personally, quite like that. Then this handsome man gets up, and right before he preaches, he picks up a violin and starts playing that violin, and then he sings, and then he preaches. And I tell you, of all the great preachers and teachers I've got to work with, and even leading worship with Larry Lee, people like that and others, you know what? That J.C. Hibbard, he came from quite a heritage too.
He did.
Jay Hibbard, right there in Dallas, but it just lives on. And by the way, Simon Cowell's favorite music is gospel. Well, your daughter ended up singing on one of Simon Cowell's TV shows.
She sure did. Her name, Sarah Sellers, at the time. She's since gotten married. She's Sarah Good now, but she sang and went to Hollywood on American Idol. So that wonderful legacy of music and soul interpretation of song has definitely trickled down to my children.
Chip off the old block. Well, I think I know the answer to this question, Sandy, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So your experience as a performer, as a songwriter, as a singer, as a recording artist, as someone who's been in front of a crowd since you were a baby, as someone who's been on television, the podcast, and all those things, does that not give you an advantage when it comes to helping your clients in branding and marketing and advertising and PR and special events?
Well, I absolutely think it does.
Right.
And not just those things, but together, the whole tapestry of my career. It's not that I think older people have more to give, but we do. And, if it's done right, I've got so much experience on so many levels of communicating that when I bring that to my business as a marketing professional, and I've got a young entrepreneur that's wanting to find her voice, to know how to present her brand, how to build her brand, how to gain preference, how to get people to notice her, then this is where I shine, because I can come in because it's all a performance, Brent. You know that. Every post that we post, every video that we post on Instagram, it's a performance. We live in a performance environment right now. So to me, the number one thing, though, is bringing authenticity to that performance. And authenticity is what sells. If you give first and you're true and you're real and you're authentic in your business doings, the business will come. And I believe that. I build my business on that. And that's what I teach my clients, because that, to me, is what it's all about. So yeah, I think that attitude comes from me being in front of that camera from the time I was 4 and 5 years old. I can remember being on, Mom and Dad had a television show on Channel 5 in Oklahoma City. And I can remember Mom dressing me and fixing my hair when I was just 4 years old and telling me to sit very still as I was in the studio at Channel 5. And I can remember the lights coming down on me. And I can remember feeling like a princess because she had fixed me all up. But I also remember having to sit there for hours, and be still and be glam or whatever. So wow. Yeah, that kind of experience is what shapes the leadership, at Sandy Hibbard Creative. And I think that it's very rare, and I think it's unique. I do, if I must say so myself.
Well, I have to agree. You are a part of so many people's life story, and you're a big part of mine. You inspired me at a young age, and you were a kid too. But I'm just proud and happy to just see what you've done and you innovated and made history in music, and then you did it in marketing, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. But when you go to the website, sandyhibbardcreative.com, folks, this is very straightforward, and it's very easy. It's very friendly. And, Sandy, this interview is also being seen over households, TV towers in the richest part of the country, which is the Permian Basin as well. People don't know that. And in my constant dealings with West Texas and the Panhandle, there's not a Sandy Hibbard type of marketing entity in those regions. And that's why it's so wonderful that you're able to help people remotely too, from wherever you are. But folks from New York, and don't get me wrong, when I work with people, and I wrote a book called Hollywood Marketing on a Mayberry Budget. 17 years ago.
Said that to me. That sounds adorable.
17 years ago.
Wow.
And people loved it. But they said, you know what? I have one complaint. We love it, but we're too busy to do it. So then I started doing it. And some of that included doing work for Lexus and all that. And so, and people know right away, well, if he was good enough to help, incredible man, Todd Rollins and Lexus and others, then he's good enough for me, right? Well, I'm going to say that about you. If you're good enough to hang and do what you did in New York, which is the trendsetter, people think California, I think it's New York, but they're both pretty close to each other. Man, she's good enough to help you in Dallas and in West Texas and beyond. And this day and age, being able to help people remotely, you can do that too. But there's millions of people, Sandy, leaving the workforce every single month, and they're starting businesses, or they're needing to work from home, or they're needing to step up their game, or they're needing to reinvent themselves. Any of those folks that you're watching, you know who I'm talking to. If you're watching, you need the same kind of services for yourself: marketing, branding, advertising, special events, PR, and more. And when you go to sandyhibbardcreative.com, you've got these packages here, a very, very friendly website. And oh my gosh, I hope that we can bring you on more regularly, Sandy.
Would love it.
I think there's people who like to call in and get just a little sample of your wisdom. But tell us about how it works for those anywhere in the world who need your services remotely. What's the first step in the process for that?
Well, the first step would be to contact me directly, or go to my website, and from my website, contact me with your questions. And I always put my phone number, my email out there. If you want to text me and say, hey, I came from such and such, and I really need to talk to you about some marketing, I'll get on a call with you for 15, 20 minutes and kind of do a little triage to find out where you're at, what you need. And then from there we go. I've got programs that I've got locked in that were created for people who are just too busy to do anything themselves. So give me your information. We'll sign you up, and you're done. You don't ever have to look at us again, So there's those kind of programs, or we can tailor make something for whatever that entrepreneur is needing. And so the first step's always just to reach out to me. I think the website, and thank you for that compliment about the website, it is user friendly. You can peruse it, and you can get pricing and ideas and examples of the work. And then you can call me up and say, hey, I like this, but I need that. And then we can create something tailor-made for what you need. That includes, social media packages, graphic design, web design, the basic things that an entrepreneur needs in building a business is to first get their brand in order and then tell their story. And so that's going to be from A to Z. And it's just about a conversation, finding out how to work together.
Well, I don't mind saying on television, I'll never lie to you, and I'll never flatter you. But Sandy, you're incredible. And your packages are so friendly. I mean, my gosh, folks, anybody can start with Sandy Hibbard Creative. Anybody. Yeah. And I'm impressed with
very affordable
for the pack. I'm there right now. And I'm just really, really impressed. But an innovator with incredible track record. And I know that you keep up with the trends. We have to in this world. I
totally.
We have to. But I'm telling you what, folks, I can in good conscience recommend Sandy Hibbard for that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you'd have people asking you for life coaching too. Do you ever do any workshops or mentoring like that?
I have in the past. I haven't been doing that in my recent time here back in Dallas, but something I've been thinking about. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up. You're reading my mind. So yeah, I have actually on my website, I have a package on coaching that's on the website, and I'm getting ready to kind of refurbish that. So what's on there is absolutely valid, and we can still do that, but it just needs to be updated, and I need to market it because I haven't really been pushing that story. But I think that going back to what we were talking about, really getting personal in our marketing and being authentic, that there's an opportunity to teach people there, and bringing in the life coach thing that can not only help somebody be better for their business, but help them in their life as well. So yeah, something I'm toying with that idea.
Well, I had a little feeling now. As we help people establish their identity, right? the logo, the image, the name, and then communicate their identity through all the forms of media. And you've done every form of media. I've done every form of media. Mm-hmm. And then help connect them, show up to the party, and then help make them ambassadors and then repeat customers, and then start the cycle over and over and over again. Yeah. Sometimes you got to stop the world and kind of get yourself together and get your, as people like Sandy is doing image consulting. If you find out who you are and you know who you are and you know what you want, then you can better establish that identity, communicate that identity, connect with people, and turn people into ambassadors for you and watch that business grow. So I'm excited to see the life coaching develop too, because, you know, at the end of the day, if you give people what they want, they give you what you want.
I believe it.
Yeah. And if you're confident and you're sure of who you are, and Sandy, you've been sure of who you are for a long time, you know what, folks? It seems like everything else gets unbalanced and is balanced almost inherently. Yeah. But such a pleasure. First of many, I hope. So many of the people and the people that have been interviewed on this show, they need your help as well. Personally, I know that, Sandy. So I'm going to be connecting you too. And I'm just excited for the future. Now, are there any books on the way or books that you've published? I haven't asked you that yet.
Yeah, I've written one book called 52 Killer Marketing Tips. It's been updated once. It's on Amazon.
All right.
Yeah, I've just now finished, actually, my weekly e-blast. It's going out today. Will have this video, and it talks about me completing the 52 Killer Marketing Tips series. It took me about 13 and a half months, and it's done. I finished the last video last month, and I am so stoked about that. I'm so excited. So I'm trying to figure out how to package that, you know, the way that would be best packaged. But it's a 52 series video tips for marketing, and it's just simple and easy as I am and authentic. But I think that some people sometimes run into a brick wall on what do I do now? You know, what should I do? So I always tout it as ideas for your marketing, and if you just pick 4 or 5 for the year, you're golden. Wow. So that's my latest project.
Well, folks, at the bottom of your screen, you've seen the whole time the website, and you've seen where you can get the book. And I can't wait to read it myself and recommend Sandy Hibbard to everybody I know. So many great businesses out there, folks. You've had a rough time during COVID and all the things that are going on in the world. But isn't it nice to know that there are experts who care about you personally, care about your business, and they have a win-win mentality. Working with Sandy Hibbard is a win-win. So it's an honor to interview a winner in my book forever. The wonderful, the beautiful, the amazing, the genius, Sandy Hibbard. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Brant. It's been my pleasure.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time, folks.
Ciao.